Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about beginner drivers and getting your license, what you need to do to go through the GLP and the GDL, the graduated licensing program, and be successful in earning your license. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Ben is here. Tim is here from Drive Smart BC. Make sure you check out Tim's website if you have any questions about driving and laws concerning driving over at his website. He's got great information over there, so check that out. Rocky's here from Ontario. Melting today. Yeah, we got snow here and it's melting here as well. Corey's here, Bricks for Wheels. He is the moderator. And Tim is saying it's raining on Vancouver Island. That's pretty standard for winter time on Vancouver Island. But, you know, you can't dig potatoes out of the ground just anywhere. So we're a little jealous about that. And Tim is watching from Winnipeg. Excellent. And Ben passed his license on the third time there in the state of Minnesota. Congratulations on that. Were you working in the snow there, Ben, when you passed your license on the third time? So yes, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope it was great and that you got the presents and gifts that you wanted. And, you know, of course, the world's a little crazy right now with COVID and whatnot. And, you know, now it's just, we have a faster spreading strain coming out of the UK. And now they found it just about everywhere in the world. So now it's about to get even more crazy than it already has been going into the next year. Ben said they had a little bit of snow there earlier today. Asher's here, just got my license a week ago. Thank you for reverse 2-point turn tutorial. You are most welcome. DC's here, Katie's here. Margaret is tuning in from Brooklyn, New York. Tarwali, how are you? Awesome, so a few people here. So essentially the way this works is I got a presentation for you on getting your license as a beginner. The GDL program, the graduated driver's license, it's got two names, the GLP or the GDL. Depending on whether you're in the States or whether you're up here in Canada. It's the same thing. It's a novice stage of your license where you get your learner's permit, and then you go into the probationary stage of your license, and that's anywhere from kind of 180 days to 2 years, depending on where you are. But all GDL programs, GLP programs, all have the same kind of 5 criteria for the duration that you're in that GDL program. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Lucia is from California. Welcome to Smart Drive Test. And yeah, so we'll talk about that. I'll do the presentation, take about 12 minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll answer any questions you have. We'll talk a little bit about defensive driving, getting yourself through winter driving and those types of things. And so without further ado, getting over there. All right, so GDL license, earning your license, what do you need to do? How do you do that from the beginning, getting your learner's permit and then starting practicing and those types of things? So for those of you who are new to Smart Drive Test, my name's Rick August. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s. Went to university in Australia at the University of Melbourne. Graduated there in 2006. While I was going to university and doing my graduate degree, I was driving coaches for Greyhound for a period of time and one of the local bus companies there as well, so I have experience driving buses. 2006, I graduated with my doctorate in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic, oddly enough. So that's who I am, and if you want to find out more about that, you can head over to the Smart Drive Test website. Right there on the front page, just scroll down about 2/3 of the way, and you'll find my autobiography there, and you can find more information. So this week, I put a video up on 5 tips for safer highway driving. Talk to you about rumble strips, maintaining space behind other vehicles, using cruise control, and you know, not hanging out behind around big trucks and those types of things, locating intersections and using traffic signs to find the roadway, because there are going to be times, you'll see in the video, that I had some glaring sun that I was dealing with. So you'll have to deal with glaring sun, and when you got glaring sun right in your eyes, you're going to need to be looking and locating where the roadway is, and traffic signs will help you do that. Also, the traffic signs will help you to locate intersections where more than 40% of crashes occur at intersections. So you need to be able to find and locate those and figure out what other traffic is doing. So the GLP program, the first part is getting your learner's permit. And when you have your learner's permit, you will need to work with a mentor. You'll have to have somebody in the vehicle with you. There are restrictions. As I said, these restrictions are more or less the same across all the GDLs or the GLP programs. You have passenger restrictions. You're limited to only immediate family in the vehicle. No blood alcohol. You can't use a hands-free cell phone. They're illegal anyway. You can't use a hands-free cell phone. So there's no cell phone use at all while you're in the GDL program. There's restrictions on night driving, and in some places, the only place that I know of right now is the province of Ontario that has restrictions on highway driving. Other places, they don't have those restrictions. So this can be anywhere from 180 days to 2 years. I know in the province of Ontario, it's 2 years. Places like Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, and other states in the U.S., it's only 180 days. So it's only 6 months, half a year that you're a probationary driver. All right. So to pass your learner's permit, there's a theory test. It's usually 50 multiple choice questions. You have to give 80%, so you have to get 40 of the 50 correct to pass the test. The test will include anything from signs, right of way, weather, attitude. It'll give you situational awareness questions. There will be some video, maybe some images, and they'll ask you who has the right of way, car A or car B, those types of things. Driving conditions in the winter, emergency situations, driving into glaring sun, as I was talking about in the video this week on 5 tips for driving safely on the highway, and it will also talk to you about defensive driving. Once you finish your learner's permit, or you have your learner's permit, you put in the time, which is usually 1 year that you have to have your learner's permit, and you're working with a mentor, then you book a driver's test. And you go in and you pass the driver's test, then you move to the provisional phase of your GLP, the graduated licensing program. Again, you have passenger restrictions. You are limited to 1 passenger in the vehicle unless they are immediate family. Again, no cell phone use, 0 blood alcohol. You have restrictions on night driving unless you are working a night shift or you are coming home from school or you have some reason that you have to drive. You can't just be out driving around having a heyday and hanging out with your mates and those types of things. And there are harsher penalties while you're in the GLP program than there are with a regular license. So it's only about half the points. Most full licenses will give you 15 points. However, you only have about 6 points when you are in the GLP program. So if you get a moving violation, you could potentially have to start over again in the GLP program, are in the provisionary stage. Okay, so you'll be there longer. All right, so all driver's tests have the same 4 components: speed management, space management, observation, and communication. All right, shoulder checking, observing, and I'll talk more about the components of a driver's test and what you need to do to be successful on a driver's test. Okay. So the novice phase really sucks because, as I said, you only have half the points. There's higher costs for insurance. There's passenger restrictions, no cell phone use. And if you get a moving violation, then you got to start over again. I got kind of ahead of myself there, but that's basically it. Okay, absolutely 0 tolerance in terms of drinking and driving in the novice phase. And okay, know that we're coming up to New Year's Eve. I know that it's COVID and most of us are locked down and we can't go outside of our bubble and those types of things. But still, drinking and driving still continues, okay? So know that in terms of drinking and driving. Simply don't do it, okay? And the other thing that I tell students, and I'll tell you again, is that drinking and driving, even if you are not convicted, which means that you're not found guilty in a court of law, the defense is still going to be $8,000 to $12,000. So if you're even remotely thinking that you've had a couple of drinks and you're going to get in your vehicle and drive, think to yourself, okay, how many cabs can I take for $8,000? And is it worth the time? Because you're going to lose your license for that period of time while you're fighting your ticket. So in the time that you don't have a driver's license, how are you going to get around? Who else is going to be inconvenienced? Is your car being impounded? Those types of things. So think of the ramifications and make decisions to get somewhere before you start drinking than after you start drinking, because of course we're not going to make good decisions after we've already started drinking. So when you're in the learner's phase, you need to practice as much as you can. You need to take every opportunity that you can to drive. You need to drive as many different vehicles as you can, and you need to drive with as many different people as you can in many different environments, because all of this is going to give you greater driving experience, and you're going to be much more prepared once you come to the driver's test. The other reason that I say to work with different mentors is because when you get to your driving test and the examiner gets in the vehicle, it's not going to freak you out, because you've already been with a bunch of different people and you already know different people's driving styles. So the examiner's not going to be anybody different. You've already been in the vehicle with a whole bunch of different people. So I encourage you to practice with many people as you can with different vehicles and those types of things. If you're over at your uncle's or your aunt's and they're going to go to the store and they need to get something or whatnot, so just say to them, listen, can I go with you? Can I drive? And then that way you get more opportunity to drive and those types of things, right? So do that. So test time in the weeks leading up, so the 4 to 6 weeks leading up to your test, stay with the same person, stay with the same vehicle, and then be practicing specifically for your driver's test. But in the months before that, many different vehicles, as many different mentors as you can. All right, so start working in the parking lot, revisit your slow speed maneuver drills, do your parallel parking, your 2-point reverse turn, backing into parking spaces, parallel parking, I think I said that. And if you're in the state of Ohio, then you're going to have to do the Ohio maneuverability test. If you're in the state of California, you're going to have to back along a curb. And one smart driver said a couple of weeks ago that Oregon also does the backing along a curb, so know that as well. Okay, and practice in and around the test center at the time that you're going to be taking your test. So if you're going to take your test on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, make sure that you're practicing in and around the test center at 10 o'clock in the morning, so you know what the traffic is going to be like and you're not going to be surprised by that. All right, so the other thing is, if you're not going to take driving lessons with a driving instructor, book a practice driving test 3 weeks out from your driving test, and that way 7 to 10 days before your test you can do a mock driving test, and the driving instructor will take you out on the test route in and around the test center, and they'll give you all of the nuances, the details that you need to know to pass your driver's test. As well, they'll give you feedback on skills and abilities that you may have to strengthen to be able to pass your driver's test, so know that. Okay, it's an excellent return on investment. So good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So we'll get back over here and we will answer any questions you have. Just bear with me. There we go. Okay, and we're back. All right, Margaret says, please don't drink and drive. A woman was killed Xmas Eve by a drunk driver going the wrong way on Route 9 in Peekskill. Plowed her into an SUV and her, those kinds of stories are just absolutely awful when people are drinking and driving, especially in this day and age with the social campaigns that have been going on for 30 years now. Why are people doing this? I mean, just read the story of Candy Lightner and her daughter in 1989. And for those of you who may or may not know, Candy Lightner was actually the woman who founded MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it's just an awful, horrible story. And it's, as Margaret just said, I mean, this happens all the time, and I just cannot fathom why people would be doing that in this day and age with all of the awareness about drinking and driving. Okay, Ben says he had over 64 hours of driving, varied my time on the day too. I'd driven 5 different cars on my learner's permit. I had more success with my driving instructor on my 3rd time than I did with my staff because I use a car that I was familiar with. Yes, and for the purposes of your driving test, I strongly encourage you to stick with the same vehicle, stick with the same person. That will definitely help you out. Trudes, how are you? Happy holidays and all the best for you as well. Michael's here from Jackson, Michigan. Okay, and Tim says that for the GLP here in the province of British Columbia, it's only 4 points. So 4 points is not very much. You get 1 speeding ticket and 1 moving violation, then you've lost your license. And Tim is also reminding that yes, we now have to remember about marijuana. That marijuana is now legal. That you cannot smoke marijuana and drive a motor vehicle. And that's just another thing that we're now dealing with, is dealing with marijuana use and driving motor vehicles, because unfortunately that happens as well. We still don't know the full ramifications of that. So Tim, do you have any articles about that, about driving and marijuana use over on your website? That'd be interesting to know because I haven't really looked into any of that in terms of the effects on driving and whatnot. Lawrence, do you know when to turn the wheel when making a right turn? Thanks. Yes, you need to turn the wheel when you're in line kind of with the sidewalk, okay? So, and of course it's going to depend on what the intersection is, but most complex intersections kind of when you physically get in line with the sidewalk is when you want to turn the steering wheel to move right. The other thing, Michael, that I would suggest to you, not Michael, sorry, Lawrence, the other thing I would suggest to you is, and Corey, I'll put the video up for you on learning to drive for beginners. Do the exercises in that. Go get some pylons and go and work in the parking lot, and that will really help you out with, mastering the primary controls, the steering wheel, and those types of things, because that's kind of what you need to do. Because, I can kind of give you some general rules about when to turn the steering wheel and whatnot at different intersections, but intersections vary so much because, you got complex intersections, you got intersections in residential areas and those types of things. So that's one of the things that you really want to have a mastery of before you kind of head out on the roadway and whatnot, okay? Bobby, I got a Pioneer NEX for Christmas. Can't wait to put it in my 2000 Toyota Camry. We'll give my car Bluetooth functions. Nice gift. Yeah, that sounds like a really nice gift to have Bluetooth functions in your vehicle. Then you can, hook it up to your phone or hook it up to your iPod and those types of things. That's really nice when you have Bluetooth capabilities in your vehicle. I mean, all of the new ones come standard with Bluetooth capabilities, but if you can retrofit your vehicle for that, that's really great. Great gift. Margaret, driving instructor, made me do a 3-point turn during rush hour in heavy traffic area. Everyone was honking and mad at me. Why would a driving instructor ever do that, Margaret? That's just crazy. Like, why? I don't get that. I don't get why driving. I mean, sure, there's plenty of places in Brooklyn where you could go and practice doing a 3-point turn. You could go to a parking lot somewhere and do a 3-point turn. Why would they make you do it in busy traffic? That's just, that is not good teaching. in my personal belief about teaching, that's just not good. Okay. No doubt the person probably did. But the thing is, again, coming back to the drink driving that we were talking about previously, there's a huge process with drinking and driving and prosecuting and convicting drink drivers, because it has to go, because it's similar in other parts of the world, but it's handled differently here in Canada. In Canada, it's not charged under the Highway Traffic Act, whereas in most U.S. states, actually Canada is one of the only few, maybe one or two countries in the world that charges drink driving under the criminal code, not under the Highway Traffic Act. So the Highway Traffic Act is a provincial or state legislation, whereas the criminal code is a federal regulation. And because it's a federal regulation, if you're charged with drink driving in Canada, you cannot travel outside of the country, because now you're a criminal because you have been drink driving. In other parts of the world, it's not like that. You're charged under the Highway Traffic Act, so it's not the same consequences as it is here in Canada. The penalties, don't get me wrong, the penalties are still stiff, but you're not considered a criminal. You can still travel outside of your country, but as I said before, there's so much social stigma attached to it. Not to mention the social stigma, in addition to that, is the cost of the criminal process, how much it costs you financially, what it costs you to get your license back, and all those types of things. It's so not worth it. And it's hard to believe that people still do it in this day and age after 30 years of social awareness programs, that people still choose to do that. But at one and the same time, I mean, all kinds of people do distracted driving, and arguments could be made that distracted driving is as dangerous as drinking and driving in some cases. So I don't know. Put your argument forward. Bobby, you said you can't stand the smell of marijuana. No, it is pungent, that's for sure. It's something else. And if you live here in Western Canada, you know, the state of Oregon, other places, there are places where it's just part of the culture. I mean, it is very, very much part of British Columbia culture here. And before it was legalized in the province of, well, before it was legalized in Canada, it was British Columbia's #1 export. Okay, Firestone. I'm new. I failed my test for the second time. Sorry to hear about that, but Firestone, keep going. Keep, you know, review. Have a look at the video. What I failed my test. Now what do I do? And we give you some tips and strategies to be successful on passing your driver's test. Rocky, my question, is it a good rule to not drink and drive or a weird rule? Because I can seriously tell you that it is a good rule to not drink and drive. And I also shall not do it, by the way. No, Rocky, it's, until you get, okay, so here's part of the problem with young drivers. And for those of you who've been around for a while, you've heard me talk about this before, that with new drivers who are in their late teens and early 20s, you're facing the 4Ds all at the same time, right? And you don't really have a great deal of experience with any one of those 4Ds. Drinking, driving, dating, and distracted driving. Your cell phone, right? Can you put the dumb cell phone down? Can you put it down while you're driving? So there's that. There's driving, which is new to you. You don't have a great deal of experience with driving. Drinking, I mean, how much experience do you have with drinking? Have you been out? Have you drunk alcohol to excess where you know exactly? Because, you know, once you get some experience with drinking, like myself, I have some experience with drinking. I know to the mouthful of alcohol when I am going to be sick or drunk with drinking. And then dating. How much experience do you have with dating, right? Do you have a little bit of experience with dating or a lot of experience with dating? So this is the thing. When you're 30 years old, you've had experience with all of these things. You've had your heart broken. You've drank to excess. You know, your cell phone. Yeah, I can put it away or I can't put it away or whatever. You know your limitations on it, right? So maybe you can have one beer and then drive a car, right? But when you're 19, 20 years old, you just don't have a whole lot of experience. So that's the other thing that we're dealing with all of this, you know, social issue that is driving, because it's not just driving. There's everything else that's influencing driving when, you know, young people are getting a license and learning how to do this. There's so many other things that unfortunately driving manuals in society just don't consider for driving and those types of things. So that's my spiel on that. So Rocky, yes, when you're a young person, if you don't drink and drive, that's a good rule. That's a really good rule. It's not to drink and drive when you're younger. Tim, I suspect that the majority of impaired driving actions in BC are currently handled in the Motor Vehicle Act's immediate roadside prohibitions provisions. And yes, the IRP, the immediate roadside prohibition provisions. This is something that the province of British Columbia did. They increased police powers, and the reason that they've increased police powers is because the drink driving under the criminal code simply wasn't working. Police officers were specifically designed, or not specifically designed, but designated for policing drunk driving. And unfortunately, it took 8 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Tim, but this is the information that I have, is that it took 8 hours to book and prosecute somebody for drink driving. And then they went through the whole court system. And most of the cases were unsuccessful. So they moved to the Highway Traffic Act, as Tim just mentioned, and they increased police powers. And they're being more effective in policing drunk driving than they were previously, because the system just wasn't working. So they made some changes to it, and hopefully now we can say that the system is working again, and that we are getting some of these drunk drivers off the roads, and the roads are a little bit safer than what they were. Ben, what control do guardians have with my driver's license over 30? Rick. Ben, if you're over 21, your guardians don't have any influence over your driver's license. Even if your guardians sign that you could get a driver's license, they don't have any influence on your driver's license or what they can do with your driver's license. That's between you and the state. Okay. Kelly, I failed to get my L 4 times, but then pass my driving exam first time. Awesome. That's great. Okay, so Ben says he never drink and drive. Excellent. Yeah, not driving angry or driving emotional. Those are the other things about driving safe as well. Okay. Rocky, oh, I've never anything at all. Okay. Shame on me for, aren't you? Okay, didn't follow that, Ben. Jaden, I've been seeing a lot of accidents when I work. For example, a pickup truck hit an SUV, and an old pickup truck was smoking, and they were major crashes on the road. Yeah, and Jaden, you're going to see a lot along the interstates and roads and those types of things. They happen more than people think, and you're at a higher risk of being involved in a crash than you could, initially think. Most people think that they're safe when they're driving. So, Lightning, my friend, how are you? Are you on holidays, or are you still working through all this craziness? Sheldon, what should I do when I move to another state but haven't changed my address? What video should I watch? No, Sheldon, you have to get in touch with the DMV in the state that you move to. Usually it's within 2 weeks, and you have to file a form indicating that you've changed your address. Sometimes you can do that online, but not always. So have a look at that. Tim says, if I worked hard, I could do 2 impaired investigations in a 12-hour night shift. So at least 6 hours each. So that's still a lot of work. And that is taking a lot of police resources to put all of that together. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay. All right, so we kind of got talking about all of that. So New Year's is coming up, so Happy New Year to everybody that's going to see. I'll see you after the New Year and those types of things. But so the other thing that I was going to talk about, that I was talking about in the presentation there, whatnot, was the 4 components of a driver's test. The 4 components of the driver's test are space management, speed management, observation, and communication. So space management, don't get near anything. That way you're less likely to hit something. And that is really the one thing that I'm talking about in terms of highway driving is that you want to stay away from other vehicles and whatnot on the roadway, because that's going to keep you safe. So 2 to 3 second following distance, stopping in traffic behind other vehicles so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you, making clear contact with the pavement. Don't drive into an intersection that you can't clear. Stopping positions at controlled intersections behind the stop line, before the sidewalk or crosswalk lines, and if those 2 conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the road where the 2 roads meet. So that's space management, okay? And it's critical that you maintain that minimum. If you're traveling slow in a queue of traffic, then you want to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front of you, making clear contact with the pavement at all times. Never get closer than that. And then 2 to 3 second following distance. So you measure that with a fixed object. And have a look at the video last week, the rhinosaur video. And you can see how to measure following distance behind other vehicles when you're driving. Speed management, posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. So if cars are traveling less than the posted speed limit, space management is more important than speed management. So if they're slowing down, then you got to maintain that 2 to 3 second following distance while you're driving. Observation, you have to observe correctly when you're driving for both defensive driving and for passing a driver's test. So observing, when you're driving straight down the road, you want a scanning pattern in place down the road, both shoulders, in, check your center mirror, down the road, in, check your instrument panel, far down the road again, taking in intersections and those types of things, in, checking your left wing mirror, down the road, check your right wing mirror, down the road, and then start that scanning pattern over again, and it should repeat itself every kind of 8 to 12 seconds. Changing lanes, mirror signal, shoulder check. And I get students who kind of say to me, and I don't know where this comes from with driving instructors that get, they're obsessed with, is it the mirror and the signal? Is it the signal and the mirror? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're putting the signal on and you're turning your shoulder checking at the same time. You can do those 2 things simultaneously and checking your mirror, right? So it's a quick kind of all three things at the same time. Mirror signal, shoulder check. Check your spot. You got a spot to move into, and mirror signal, shoulder check, check ahead, and then you're going to check again and start moving the vehicle over when the space is available. You want to keep your signal on until you're all the way in the other lane, and then you want to accelerate slightly because you're going to be covering more distance as you're moving on an angle from one lane to another. So that's changing lanes and reversing and observing when you're backing up. Make sure that you do a 360-degree scan around your vehicle, and then look out through the back window before you start to move the vehicle backwards. If you do have a backup camera in your car, yes, you can use it. You can look at it as you would your mirrors, but you can't use it as your primary line of sight. Even for the state of New Jersey that allows backup cameras, right? You can have a look at it, but you can't you can't use it as your primary line of sight. And I see lots of people doing that now in parking lots and those types of things. So that's reversing. And then the last one is communication. You have to communicate effectively with other drivers on the roadway for the purposes of being a safer driver and passing your driver's test. So lights and signals, horn, use your horn sparingly because in this day and age it's going to be seen as a sign of aggression. Hand gestures, if you're not sure what a pedestrian is doing or a cyclist or whatnot, wave them on or those types of things. And then eye contact, get eye contact with somebody, and that way you know what they're going to do, whether they're going to stay put or not, and those types of things. And then last, the most important way that traffic communicates on the roadway is the position of the vehicle on the roadway. So those are the four major components of not just the passenger vehicle test, but commercial vehicles as well. That space management, speed management, observation, and communication. Okay? Buster, Jiu-Jitsu. Didn't get to go to Jiu-Jitsu this week because of Christmas, and I just, one class was canceled, and the class I was going to go to on Wednesday, I got tied up with doing my video, so I didn't make it to Jiu-Jitsu this week, unfortunately. But tomorrow, yes, tomorrow. And Ben says he sees police everywhere. In Bloomington, Minnesota, I'm always on the lookout for police. Ben, are you speeding all the time? Is that why you're looking for the police? Because they're not gonna track you down unless you're speeding or doing something bad. And Ben says speed traps are everywhere in the Twin Cities. You never know where they're going to be. Nightmare, what's your opinion on the length of learner's portion of the GLP? Do you think it should be longer, shorter? What do you think the ideal amount of time is? The learner's portion of the GLP, I actually think that the learner's portion of the GLP is too long. I think a year is far too long for the learner's permit. I think the learner's permit should be some kind of 3-4 months. I don't think it should be a year. I think because the thing is that it's not doing what authorities want it to do, which is they want students to get as much practice as possible. But young drivers are just getting their learner's permit, they're getting the clock ticking, and then 6 to 8 weeks before their test, then they go out and start driving and practicing for their test, and that's all the driving they get. So we might as well just make it 3 to 4 months anyway, and cut it down and just streamline this process a little bit. Okay? DC, 2 or 3 rhinoceroses behind. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Ben, I keep 6 car length spaces from a work or semi-trucks on the freeway. Ben, you want to measure your following distance not in car lengths but in time, because time is relative. If you keep a 2 to 3 second following distance, the faster you go, the bigger that space goes. So I would encourage you to use time instead of 6 car lengths, because 6 car lengths, when you're moving at high speeds, it's kind of like, well, how long is a piece of string? All right, Jaden, when I was on the road tests last week, I saw a car hit a bicycle on the side of the road, traffic controlled intersection. Yeah, it's always terrible when cars hit vulnerable road users. It's not good. Margaret, here we say 1 Mississippi. Yeah, to count seconds. But, you can change it up, Margaret. You can use rhinoceros, dinosaurs, hippopotamus. It all works. We don't just stick to Mississippi. We all know how to spell Mississippi, right? Mississippi. Right. There we go. Besides, you don't live in Mississippi. You live in Brooklyn. That's even better. Okay. Ben, sometimes you do need to use your horn, but use it sparingly. Okay? All right, Tim, you have a great night. Enjoy your dinner. Happy New Year, my friend, and we will see you next year. All the best. Okay. And Corey, yeah, Corey agrees with me in terms of the amount of learners. Why would you put in the effort a year out? Exactly, because your test is so far away. I mean, there's always the divide between theory and what really happens in life. And it's, the thing is that nobody's, even I'm even bad for that. I know that I should be doing 4 videos all at the same time so I get them all done for the month and have them lined up. But what am I doing every Tuesday? I'm working on putting a video together for Wednesday, because that's just what we are as human beings. We don't do, only the people that aren't quite right in the head. And, I'm sorry, I'm not picking on you, but there are some people who are able to do all that planning stuff and whatnot. But I'm not one of those people, right? I'm doing my video for Wednesday on Tuesday, and people who are learning how to drive, they are not learning how to drive 12 months out from their test. I'll tell you, okay? They're waiting for 6 to 8 weeks before their test, and then they're going to start learning how to drive. All right? So that's just the reality of it. So let's go with the reality instead of the theory, because the theory is not working anymore. Okay? Priceless. Yeah, I know tons of people that get their L, drive for like 2 weeks, then don't start again until like 2 months before the test. Yeah, and that just happens all the time. So, why don't we just streamline the process? Why don't we just make the learner's permit that the amount of time you have to wait is 3 to 4 months? Let's all write a letter to our congressman, to our senators. That's what I was trying to say. And here in Canada, our members of parliament, we can write to them and we can have them change this goofy thing. We'll get it changed and make it better, make it streamline it. Marcelo, I am starting all the steps to get my professional driver's license here in Manitoba, but next year I should move to Alberta. Do you know if I will be obliged to get a new class 1 in Alberta? No, they are transferable. If you get your class 1 in Manitoba, Marcelo, I'm sorry. If you get your class 1 in Manitoba, then yes, you can simply transfer it when you move to Alberta. That will work for you. All right. Ben, I don't speed, just observing of what's going on around me. Excellent. That's great. Jaden, in Florida, everyone's been running red lights, being really upset about it, and police are not doing anything about it. And eventually, Jaden, you know what's going to happen if they continue to run red lights is they're simply going to put in red light cameras, and then you'll get a ticket in the mail. And they'll do automated enforcement is what they're going to do. Sean, I like the funny bits at the end of your videos. Thank you so much, Sean. We're working on that, because it makes them a little bit more interesting and makes it worth watching to the end, because you want to see what the funny bit is. All right, thanks so much. Flavored, that's what my pops is trying to teach me, not running stop signs and red lights. And Flavored, that is really good for defensive driving. Ben, I'd rather have more experience on the road by practicing more than not having enough for my own. I had to wait 6 months because of lockdown back in March. Yes, and fingers crossed, because the 20th of January, I am convinced that Biden is going to shut down the United States of America. It will be shut down. So just be prepared for that in January, that's what's going to happen, okay? So, excellent. What else was I going to say? Right, defensive driving. I wanted to just review this. I had a smart driver get in touch with me, and unfortunately, the smart driver had a crash on a left-hand turn, and looking at this, you would never think in all your driving career that would happen, that this crash would happen. So what happened was the driver came up, made a left-hand turn onto a one-way street, and the one-way street was 3 lanes. So the driver came up, prepared to make the left-hand turn. There was a car on the other side of the intersection that was making a right-hand turn. The driver turned left, did exactly textbook, turned left from the left lane into the left lane on the roadway. The car making the right, turned right, drove across the 2 lanes, and drove into the driver that was turning left. So he asked me who had the right of way. And I said, right turning vehicles have the right of way over left turning vehicles. However, it's also left lane to left lane and right lane to right lane. So technically, in the big overview of things, The right turning vehicle made the mistake because it came around the corner and just crossed 3 lanes of traffic and drove into the left turning vehicle. But at one and the same time, the right turning vehicle had the right of way over the left turning vehicle. So this gets all murky very quickly. But from a defensive driving point of view, when you're making left-hand turns and right-hand turns on multi-lane roads, never turn in beside another vehicle. That is golden rule of defensive driving. Always turn in front of the other vehicle or turn in behind the other vehicle. So this smart driver, I said to them, well, you know, it's pointless now, but we can learn from this, because what I tell drivers, when you're turning left and right onto multi-lane roads, never turn in beside another vehicle. So had the driver waited 1 second for the right-hand vehicle to get around the corner and then made the left-hand turn, they would have been in behind that right-hand turn, and the vehicle and the crash would have been avoided. So what we take away from this in terms of defensive driving, and coming back to this again, is that always turn either in front of a vehicle when you're turning onto a multi-lane road, or turn in behind it. Just pause, wait 1 second, and then turn in behind that vehicle, and that will keep you safe when you're making turns, because there's a lot going on when you're making turns. And to say that, oh, that other driver deviated out of their lane, if you go down to an intersection on a multi-lane road and you watch vehicles coming around on turns, especially left-hand turns, they'll always drift over to the right. 50% of the vehicles will drift over to the right. So they're always going to drift out of their lane. They're not going to turn right lane to right lane or left lane to left lane. So know that. And that's how you set yourself up to be a smart defensive driver. Okay? Big Mac Sam, hello. I have 30 years driving experience. Do I need any tips on passing the driver's test? And not only that, Sam, but you also teach people how to pass the driver's test. So I don't think you, well, you may need a few tips, but you know, we can work that out for you, my friend. Okay, insights. My driving instructor said I drive too fast, and she told me I don't need to keep stopping to look for pedestrians. Yes, so you probably need to slow down, and you need to scan better for pedestrians as you're driving in a forward motion. Okay. Jaden, I also learned that if someone that is not supposed to be doing, I should use my horn to indicate to tell them to stop. Sometimes you can, Jaden, and sometimes at work you give a little beep on the horn. Then that will, you know, prevent a traffic crash or a collision. And I had one of those in the parking lot yesterday. I was coming out, and I don't know what this person was doing, but they were kind of off onto my right, and I saw him. He didn't shoulder check at all. And I could see the driver, and I just kind of tapped my horn. It's like, hey, I'm right here. And then he shoulder checked, and it was avoided a crash. Otherwise, he may have driven into me, right? So there you go. Okay. Marcelo, thanks a lot, Rick, for answering my questions. God bless and Happy New Year. And to you as well, my friend, all the best to you and your family for the new year. All right. Awesome. Ray, an instructor had said to me I should first check mirror, look over the shoulder, and then signal rather than the accepted mirror signal shoulder check. Didn't understand the logic behind that. And Ray, I don't understand the logic behind that either. I mean, some driving instructors are so goofy. They're just like, oh, this is the way it's got to be, and it's got to be in this sequence. It's like, why can't you shoulder check and turn the signal on at the same time? I don't get it. I don't get it. So... But, you know, unfortunately for your purposes, just do what your instructor tells you to do, and then that will help you do what you need to do. Okay? Good to see everyone here. It's good to see you as well, Mac. And how have you been, my friend? How are things in New York there? It's pretty crazy. Okay. Margaret says, had to use the horn to alert someone who was panhandling in the middle of the street with his poor dog right in front of my car. Yes, and sometimes, Margaret, you're gonna have to do that with pedestrians and other kind of crazy people doing all kinds of things. So, Melinda, thank you so much. Excellent. Okay. All right. Flavored, I have a couple of weeks away from taking my driver's test on the 5th of next month, so I can come with the intentions of passing. Just need a little more practice, so I can be relaxed and prepared. And yes, you're going to do awesome. And Flavored, drop us a comment if you need any help or you have any questions about preparing for your driver's test. We'll definitely help you out with that, my friend. Okay. Ben, Ben says, I had an ogre on my second lesson. Yes. Priceless. Last time I used my horn was at McDonald's. Someone tried to reverse out of the drive-thru thinking they were the only one there, as I was in a small car and they were in a truck and almost hit me. And yes, that's you definitely need to use your horn when that happens, Nightmare. I had that happen. I was parking downtown a few months back, and actually I've got this on dash cam. I really should put it up as one of the stories. The same thing. Person, I just pulled in behind them and then they backed up and they didn't look. Because a lot of people will move the vehicle and will not look. And the same thing there as you, Priceless. They backed up and you got to tap the horn to let them know that I'm here. Sam, pretty crazy. Still teaching the 5-hour pre-licensing course via Zoom. I do it for home. It's fun. Awesome. I don't know, Sam. If I have one more Zoom meeting or one more Skype meeting, I think I'm going to scream. I want to go somewhere. I want to come to Brooklyn and just like run around and hug random strangers. Just so done with this whole lockdown and craziness. But unfortunately, I don't see any end to this soon. And to think, when this started, I believe I'm on video quoted as saying, well, this will only last a couple of weeks. Oof, we are heading into a year now. This is just crazy. Flavored, I appreciate it. Is it recommended that I practice on the day and get a good night's sleep before the test? Yes, you definitely want to do that, Flavored, and you definitely want to do, like, the day that you go down for your driver's test, you kind of want to have a little warm-up, right? Go for a drive just in and around the test center, just get warmed up and practice the maneuvers, maybe do your parallel parking once and those types of things. But you're going to be great. So, you're going to be great. Okay. Ray, I'm tired of this lockdown. Yeah, me too. Margaret, don't hug strange people in Brooklyn. You're probably right, Margaret. It's probably like hugging strange people here in Vernon. Yeah, there's some weird people. But that's the point that I'm getting to in terms of the lockdown. I just want to go out and just hug random people because I'm just so tired of it. Ray, here in Ontario, we are in another lockdown. Holy crap. Yeah, they completely locked down Ontario on Boxing Day yesterday. So, yeah, it's completely locked down. Okay, Sam, yes, I remember you said it will only last 2 weeks. Yeah, don't quote me on that, Sam, because I was really wrong. I've been right on some other things, but I was really wrong on that one. My prediction on that was not good. Okay, excellent. Okay. So so what we take from this tonight is don't hug random strangers in Brooklyn, even if it's New Year's Eve. Don't hug random strangers there, or in Vernon. We got that as well. Okay, excellent. Well, Sam, I am glad to hear that you're working and that this whole crazy lockdown thing is not affecting your ability to work. So that is one thing that I'm grateful for. But unfortunately, I think that what's going to happen in the United States is we are going to see a complete lockdown in January in the United States there. All right, Jaden, and since I moved to a dangerous area, I was thinking once I get my own car, I might have to install a kill switch because there's been a lot of suspicious stuff going on. Jaden, the other thing you can do is just get a dash cam. Most of the dash cams have a security feature on them that if the vehicle moves, that it will start to take photos and those sorts of things. The only problem is that most cars, when they're pointed in this way, right, in a parking space, and people are in your vehicle stealing stuff and those types of things, that the camera's not going to record the people that are stealing your stuff, right? So dash cams not necessarily are a good thing for preventing theft. And here's another thing. I had a friend of mine who, for whatever reason, kept his wallet in his vehicle. So don't keep valuables in his vehicle, because unfortunately what happened, he didn't click the key fob quite right and the doors didn't lock. And of course we have people here, and not just here, but I'm sure everywhere, that at night go around and they check handles on doors. And if the car is not locked, they go in and they'll just take whatever change and other valuables are in the vehicle. So unfortunately, my friend, because his vehicle wasn't locked and the door checkers came around, they took his wallet and they used all his credit cards. And they didn't get a whole lot of money because credit cards are only good for about 24 hours. But you know, with tap and those types of things, they were able to get a few $100s off the credit card. So my counsel to you is, you know, don't leave valuables in your vehicle, and just in case that door fob thing happens where you lock the door and you think they're locked and they're not locked, and those people come around because they are there. Okay, Sam, Margaret is from Brooklyn. She is here, and I'm not sure who else is here from Brooklyn, but Margaret's here, and she's working on her license. So, insights. What do you think about cars with back view cameras to show me how I'm parking during my test? Insights, you can use a backup camera, and Corey will put the video for you on how to use a backup camera. You can't use it as your primary line of sight for your driver's test, but you can check it. So before you back up, have a look at your backup camera, look at your mirrors, and then look over your shoulder and back up. So there you go. Okay. Okay, we talked about that. Margaret says somebody broke into her friend's car and stole the 24-roll pack of toilet paper she had in the trunk. Well, your friend is not going to be prepared for the pandemic. And I'm only laughing about that, Margaret, because funny story. So I like to walk, right? So yesterday I'm shopping. I'm at the shop, and I had to go to Walmart, which is across the street, and you know, across the parking lot. So I go into Walmart, I buy a couple of things, and they've got toilet paper on sale. You know, like a big job lot of toilet paper. And so my friend was asking me about it, and because doesn't know how to, anyway, I bought a job lot for my friend, and I thought, well, I might as well grab one too, right? And so I grabbed these two big things of toilet paper and whatever else I had, and then forgot that I parked all the way across the thing. So I had to walk all the way across the Walmart parking lot with these two big things of toilet paper. And, everybody's looking at me going, what is that weird guy doing? And I'm like, oh, pandemic 2.0, get your toilet paper. So I'm ready for the pandemic, the next pandemic, okay? Excellent. So Sam's in the Bronx, Margaret's in Brooklyn, excellent, epic. Been watching your videos in addition to the ones outside of the United States and Canada. Speaking of cars for your road test, automatic cars are safe, but outside manual cars, yes, and epic. That's correct. In most of Europe and other places in the world, they're all manual transmissions. And unfortunately, in London and other places in the UK, this is why their failure rate is high, because it's a lot harder to learn how to drive a manual transmission and take a driver's test, okay? So know that. Insights, what do you think about cars with back view cameras to show me how I'm parking during my test? Insight, I answered that question. Have a look at the video on backup cameras. You can use it, and I do like backup cameras. I think they're great. Okay, and Corey's put that video up there for you, so have a look at that, all right? Okay, Rocky, I wish COVID-19 goes away, so I'm thinking now we're in month 9, less until the COVID goes away, because I really miss going out to have fun so much. I'm looking forward to it. You and me both. You and me both, Rocky. Jaden, when I took my driver's license tests, the driving instructor said I hit a cone, but the vehicle I did it was my dad's crew cab truck. Now, if I got a truck, would it be single cab or would it be easier? Yes, if you got a single cab, Jaden, it would be easier. I would suggest you not get a crew cab, but it's pretty difficult to not get a crew cab in this day and age. Most pickup trucks are crew cabs. It's tough to get anything otherwise. Sam, Rick, are you still recognized when you're out and about? Sam, I haven't been recognized. Oh, yes, I was. Yes, Sam, I am. I had even with my mask on, I was in picking up photos at the shop the other day, and the young kid behind the counter says, "You look familiar." And of course, I'm wearing a mask, right? And I'm like, YouTube. He goes, "Oh, you're the driving guy." Yes, so I'm still getting recognized when I'm out and about. That's funny. Ikpima, I let my nerves get the best of me and I failed my road test in Kamloops. I booked another one in February and I hope I pass this time. And you will. Just remember to breathe and review what you need to review so you can pass your driver's test there in Kamloops. And make sure you get a bit of practice so you're ready to drive in the snow and whatnot. Okay? Ben, I had a cart stolen at Target 2 years ago while shopping at Target one time, but I didn't have much in it. They stole your cart? Why would they want your stuff? That's funny. Okay. Flavored, good luck on the retest in February. Thank you for that. Ibram, when I pass my driving test, I'm going to sleep for the rest of the day. I suspect you will. Yeah. Thanks for your helpful lessons. You're most welcome. And Sam, that's awesome. I'm so glad you dropped by tonight. That's really great. Yeah, and everything's going well. Jerry, do you have to go to the DMV to get your registration, or is it mailed to you after you purchase a vehicle? Jerry, remind me, are you in Michigan? I think you're in Michigan, are you not? It's going to depend on which state you're in, Jerry, about whether you're going to have to go to the DMV or you're going to have to mail it in. That information will be on their website. If you want to send me an email, I can have a look for you for that information and help you out. Okay? It was Christmas season. Yeah, it was Christmas season. It was pretty crazy with the lockdown and those types of things, and that you're not allowed to have gatherings with your family and whatnot. My kids haven't seen their grandparents in months because, as my daughter likes to say, their mom, she's COVID crazy. So yeah. Ray, I wish Rick was my driving instructor. Would have done a way better job than that man who couldn't do it even 10 lessons. My goodness. Well, thank you, Ray, for the compliment. Yeah, unfortunately, not all driving instructors are painted with the same brush. So yeah. AK, I'm planning to buy a used 4x4 vehicle. What do you recommend? Years, brands, features, generals? Definitely, AK, what I suggest you is buy the vehicle that works for you, because like clothes, a car has to fit you, and do your due diligence. Look at the reviews online. There's tons and tons of reviews for all the vehicles online. And buy the vehicle that you want. If you want a blue car, you want a yellow car, buy the car that you want, because there's so many vehicles on the market. You can get what you want. And the other thing is, make sure that you look at the reviews, buy what you want. But for me personally, I'm kind of a Honda Toyota person, so that's what I recommend to you as a beginner vehicle. Okay. Epic. Okay, so you're answering that. And Jerry, you're in Philadelphia, so you're in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure what they're doing in Pennsylvania. As I said, Jerry, I would have to look that up. If you want to send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest, I can have a boo for you and see what I can find out for you, okay? So do that. Jaden, now I have a friend that supports law enforcement, and he told me I can only be a licensed security officer, and he said I can get arrested for impersonating a security officer. Yes, you can. More so, yeah, and I don't know exactly what the laws are in Florida there, Jaden, but you would need to look up the laws on that. So don't go around impersonating security personnel. Ben, I'm sick of this COVID stuff because I work in healthcare myself. I just want to get back to bowling in a few years too. Yeah, it's just like all craziness and all kinds of civil liberties that have been curtailed because of this COVID thing. Anyway, so we're near the end of the hour here. We're going to wrap it up. And many thanks. Perfect. I got the answer. Excellent. Kevin, I'm visiting from Grenada, and I got a license over 15 years. Can I get a license in Florida? Kevin, you should be able to drive in Florida on your Grenada license for a period of time, but after a couple, 2-3 months, you're going to have to get a Florida license to be able to drive there. Flavored, I remember the time when I was about 16, 17, my older sister tried to teach me how to drive. I let my own nerves get the best of me and missed out, but hey, it's never been too late. No, it's never too late, Flavored, for sure, to get your license. Ray, speaking of car purchases, Rick, will you make a video about purchasing a first car, like points to consider and those types of things? Yes, there are a couple of videos here, Ray, on the channel already about buying vehicles. Corey will put those up for you. You can have a look at those, but I'm thinking that once this COVID thing is over, I've got some connections here at the Honda dealership that we could make a series of videos about how to buy a vehicle, and all of that would be really good information for new drivers. All right, so wrapping up, Happy New Year's. It's going to be this week. I will see you in the new year. If you have a driver's test this week, good luck on your driver's test. If you've passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on passing your driver's test. That is absolutely awesome. If you have any questions at all about passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, leave us a comment down in the comment section there, and Remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.